Skyforge is a weird game. From Alod's team, a Russian MMORPG developer, we have Skyforge, which is a really intriguing entry in the MMORPG genre. Breaks up with a lot of conventions from standard MMORPGs. It's really bizarre when laid against other MMOs, because it doesn't really fit very many, except for maybe Destiny, which is an MMORPG. Bungie, stop lying to yourself. Destiny is an MMORPG. Fucking shared world experience. Fortunately, although it bears a lot of interesting similar characteristics to the aforementioned turd, Skyforge is not a turd. It's just really weird. And for once, I mean that in the best possible way. But let's break right into this bizarre Russian MMORPG about ascending to godhood. So the premise of the game is one day you're out fighting monsters with your buddies, and you all get killed, and then suddenly you wake up and realize that you're not dead. Which is really weird considering when you killed, you're usually dead. In this case, you're not, though, because you're actually an immortal. Basically a god, whose death kind of awoken your weird prepubescent god powers, which is kind of cool. From there, you go on to basically do what gods do, and that would be roam around the world, complete miracles, answer prayers, blow shit up, you know, the good stuff. And based on the amount of pure slaughter in this game, you're one of the real biblical kinds of gods. Like the Hammer of Wrath turns somebody into salt kind of gods. My kind of god. And that's one of the things I really like about this game. It really does a good job of sticking to its theme of you are a god, or at least soon will be a true god. Everything in the game seems geared toward this, from its progression, to its animations, to the way you style your character. It's all based on this idea that you're an immortal badass god. In my case, the god of style. Combat is your Terra, Guild Wars 2, Neverwinter style reticle-based combat, where you just fucking have your reticle and you click buttons and you've got a couple of spells bound, and all the targeting is done by aiming manually, which is pretty similar to pretty much every other MMORPG to come out in the last, say, 2 years. And I'm including WildStar in that because it does the same thing. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, it can do some action-based combat stuff, but I'm kind of starting to get burnt out on this whole reticle-based MMO thing. That might just be me. But yeah, it's very similar to what you've probably seen before. Also fucking hard as balls! But that would be where the similarities this game has to other MMORPGs in the genre fall completely off a cliff. Because this game is weird. Instead of going out to a region and finding some dumbass with a giant glowing exclamation point over his head, you instead have a giant world map. You can view the entire planet and find people who need your help. And then you go to those people, and you complete various missions. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's 3 real big kinds of content. For the most leveling, eventually you get to the point where you're doing big raids. Initially you've got basic regions, which are small areas with a couple of quests within them that you can kind of teleport to and kind of explore and do at your leisure. It's very single player, it's very standard questing, with a little bit more emergence where you're finding the quests on your own, and these quests kind of build into each other, and they have little zone stories. They only take about half an hour, 20 minutes, maybe an hour tops on the big ones to get through, but they're still very fun for kind of solo play. The next type of gameplay up is squad-based. These are more your standard missions or dungeons, where you're going in, you have a couple of objectives to complete. Generally, there's 2 to 3 bosses that you have to fight and kill, and you get your loot and all that good stuff. And then above that, there's group content, which is similar to squad content, but with more players. All of this is done from the world map, and squad and group content can be queued right into. And really, there's no reason not to queue into it. The queues are generally really quick, because everything is kind of scaled around, and you can be scaled to a higher level or a lower level or whatever is needed. And you can jump into these really quickly and get better rewards for being grouped. So there's no reason never to group, which means you're almost always doing stuff with other people, which is really good. I've met a couple of really cool people when I got scaled into an instance with people who were vastly more powerful than me, and the dungeon that was vastly more difficult than I could ever possibly attain. Yeah, that didn't go over well. That did not go over well at all. But I really like this kind of more mission-focused, dungeon-focused kind of gameplay. You can go to regions and do your thing in, but it's generally pretty quick and generally pretty repeatable. Better to stick with the squad and group content, because it's a lot more fun. Another way the game breaks from standard MMO conventions is in its progression system. There are no levels in Skyforge. There is simply an aggregate number that represents your total affinity, which brings everything from your order, to your skills, to your class, to your Ascension Atlas, which I'm going to get into in a minute, to your equipment, all together into a single aggregate number that represents your power. This is called prestige. It's a nifty little system which goes really well hand in hand with the Ascension Atlas, which is a completely original, never-before-seen system for improving your character through a sort of grid of spheres. You progress through this sphere grid by using various sparks, which you use to unlock nodes on the grid, one by one in a single line pattern. These sparks come in 3 different flavors: orange, blueberry, and gross lime. Nobody likes lime. Each of these nodes unlocks different stat boosts, which then, therefore, increase your prestige. And each class also has its own mini-sphere grid, which you can move through and upgrade. Oh, I haven't mentioned the classes yet, have I? What a forgetful klutz I am, as this game allows you to change your class basically on the fly. You start out with 3 classes: the Paladin, which is a sword and board warrior, a Cryomancer, which is a wizard, which is what I do. I do wizard. And then you've also got the Light Warden, which is a healer. And there are various other classes you can stretch out to and unlock through the sphere grid, which is really cool. You can get stuff like Warlock and Necromancer and Slayer, all this cool stuff. And Kratos from God of War, apparently. What the fuck? These progression systems come together to form a really unique sort of bond with your character. You can really take it in whatever way you want, and the prestige will continue to boost you up. And if you want to change your class, the only thing you really lose between classes is that class's specific tree, which is generally substantially smaller than the overall tree itself. So you can change your class without really impacting your character's performance, which is really cool. Allows you to kind of customize. I'll be fucking Paladin tomorrow, I'll be fucking Cryomancer today. The only thing I really have a problem with this system is they give you the 3 most boring classes to start with. The only one I really found interesting at all was Cryomancer, and they're fun. But trying out the other classes, which you can do, it reveals that there are some really cool combos out there, like Warlock, Necromancer, all of these cool classes with interesting mechanics. I just wish it didn't take you literally weeks of play to get to those classes. It can get kind of grindy from time to time. There's a main story mission, but most of your rewards come from completing these squad missions or regions, which new ones unlock as you gain more prestige, or working through your order. Because what god would be a god without a cult of mindless loyal followers? That is right, I was so excited to unlock this feature. I wanted to start my disciplehood. My great followers would go... Oh, it's just World of Warcraft garrisons. Never mind. And then we get to the giant elephant in the room trying to steal your wallet. In this case, we have premium mode, which is sort of a subscription-based thing, which allows you to generate more and more stuff faster. Things like sparks or credits or anything like that. That said, I was able to generate most of these resources at a pretty good rate, as the game gives you in-game methods to continue generating more of these, which is pretty cool. I'm not too bad on the free-to-play. The free-to-play is actually pretty clean. And I guess there's also going to be some cosmetic stuff, because a lot of your characters are based on costumes, because there's no armor pieces. But yeah, it's not a bad free-to-play system to have. I am fine with it. But all things considered, Skyforge is not a bad game. In fact, it's a very strange MMO, but also a very fun one when you take it into consideration. It's great for short play, because you can jump into a squad mission or a group mission, and it's over in 20 minutes. And then you're off to your next thing, you got your rewards. It's not bad at all. The free-to-play is good, and things like orders, while being kind of disappointing that they're just World of Warcraft garrisons, are still not bad. But that's been me for the day. Thank you for watching this episode of Free to Play on Skyforge. It's been a really fun game to play, and I've actually really enjoyed my time with it. Despite all of the technical issues in getting this video together, I lost a lot of footage, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate when you guys watch it. It means a huge amount to me to hear that you guys like these videos, because I love putting them together, and I'm going to keep doing it, so enjoy. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, you know, the stuff that I'm, you know, contractually obligated to put at the end of my video these days. But thank you very much for watching, and you all have a great one. Boing.
I'm listening. What's wrong?